Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L, and now let's talk My Hero Academia Chapter 203. In other words, the ultimate quirk showcase for Class 1B continues. Anyway, yeah, we got, like about 13, 14 pages this week. Pretty good. I think 14. That's good. Hopefully the author is still in good health. He had his hiatus last week. Hopefully everything's going well for him. But anyway, the biggest thing that I'm really enjoying from this chapter is just finding out about the quirks. And I really want to start there because these are pretty cool. And it's really cool to see how different they are than what I initially imagined. Because while some of them are doing things exactly how you would expect them to do it, how they can be applied is what's getting really interesting. So I want to start out with Pony because Pony is pretty interesting because when you hear the quirk horn cannon, you would just think, oh, she shoots her horns, right? The thing I didn't expect, however, is that those horns grow back. Or at least they grow back as quickly as they do. So one thing that was really interesting in the chapter is she shoots off the horns, right? But she is able to control up to 4 of them at once, so she can manipulate them instead of just having them shoot in a straight line. And we know that because when you look throughout the chapter, you could have seen that there were there were multiple horns at play at any given moment. The panel first starts off with there being, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 horns shooting right towards the Shoji and Todoroki, and then you have the last set of horns propelling Tetsu forward. So that was pretty cool use of the horns. Mind you, it's really interesting to think about the horns being able to be manipulated because they have such a weird shape. So I'm kind of interested to see how they fly through the air. Although, like, honestly, when the anime makes it, it's probably just going to be something like they're just going in a straight line, even though they don't seem to have such aerodynamic shapes. Regardless, it seems that the horns can go forward. She shoots them forward and then she can make alterations to about 4 of them at the same time if she wants. So that's a pretty interesting way of doing it, because then you have an autopilot feature, which is just probably a vanilla straight line. And then you have the tricky feature, which is moving them around. And with this, you do get to see it demonstrated when Shoji is being hit by them, because you see the horns, or at least 2 of the horns, going around the ice barricade to grab Shoji. So that's really interesting. And I really like this quirk because it has the weakness built right in, since it's based around the weakness of a chemical compound being in her system, that being keratin. And just for the record, I googled it, and keratin is used to make, or it's used in the production of hoofs. Not our biology, in the biology of a horse. So keratin is part of the hoof. So that was a pretty neat little detail. Overall, I love the quirk. It's simple, it's effective, and it has a reasonable weakness. Anyway, on the other side of things, we also had Honanuki showing off his thing. And just for the reminder, the chapter mentioned that he was a recommended student for Class 1B, but he's on the same level as Todoroki and Momo. He's one of those students that got in without having to do the thing that the other students were doing. They were doing their own specialized exam. So that's pretty neat. One thing here is that I don't recall when I made the video if I considered that Honanuki could control things other than, or he could soften things other than the ground, but him being able to soften solids in general was pretty neat. I do wonder if this is how things would work if things were actually softened. If solids were softened the way they are, I wonder if this is how it would work, but I don't know the science well enough to be able to say. But it is a pretty cool visual at the very least. It does seem that he turns things into a jello-like substance though. So overall, it's really interesting with his quirk, and you can see why he's one of the recommended students, because this is a bit of a wide area of effect type quirk. Not only that, when you look at the initial softening, he's able, it's not simply him just touching it softens it. It seems like we don't know how much of a radius he can affect, because it's more of anything that's touching the thing that he's softening is also going to be affected. So it brings into question just an interesting idea about, is there some kind of boundary issue? Like, if he was to touch the ice, would the effect of the softening also reach the ground that the ice is sitting on? And from the way that the area of effect looks, it seems like, yeah, that seems to be the case. If the ice is touching the ground, it seems that would work. So I think it's good that he has the little stipulation that he can't affect living things. But that is still really overpowered. But then again, you also have Todoroki, who is just blasting ice at everyone. So maybe it's not the worst thing. Honestly, when it comes to overpoweredness though, I think this matchup is a bit nicer because it's one overpowered person versus one overpowered person, as opposed to the previous match where you had two people who were significantly overpowered because their area of effect is just crazy, versus one overpowered person on the other side. Although you could argue that Tokoyami's overpowered, but given that he's fighting in his worst element when he's in the daytime, you could argue that he's probably at his weakest. And Tokoyami can't affect a wide area unless he's in Dark Shadow's Berserk mode. So yeah, I think it would be fair to say that the other match had two overpowered versus one overpowered, as opposed to this one being more even. Because when you look at it, for the rest of the people on Class 1B's side, you have the guy who has rotating arms, and that's good. And then you have Tetsu. So they're working each other relatively well. Now, I do like that Todoroki's going up against Tetsu, and then Ida's dealing with Hononuki, because it'll be interesting to see how weak people deal with such impressive quirks. Now, one last thing that I thought was interesting in just the first round of fights was the fact that Hononuki made an assumption based on past performance. And it's just, first off, let's acknowledge that Ida's final shot in this chapter was pretty amazing. But yeah, Ida's last little panel there was pretty cool. There is something cool to see him like looking up at someone and breaking through ice. Honestly, Ida's diligence has now been applied to what he does, and now nothing can stop him. Not even the earth that's been hardened around him can stop him. That's pretty interesting. I do wonder, given that Todoroki did a burst freeze, I wonder how much ice off the ground there is. Like, is there a full 6 feet of ice in between the surface of the ice and the ground itself? I wonder. Because otherwise, I think when you see Ida bursting through the earth, or at least bursting through the ice, he's probably moving the earth itself. That's what I really want to believe. But anyway, Hononuki making the assumption based on past information, while it's good, it seems like he kind of relied on that assumption, because he thought that once he put Ida under, it would be over, right? But now he's having the whole situation turned around on him. So I'm really interested to see how this plays out. Ida's at a disadvantage, but in the same way Tetsu's at a disadvantage with Todoroki. So I want to see how these two sides do. Another shot that I really loved was just the shot of the melee occurring with Choji and Todoroki versus Tetsu and Pony, because that was just a cool shot of chaos. I really like that one. And this is the shot that again shows you that Pony is able to shoot out her horns and then grow them back really quickly. So she must be able to grow them back like within a second, because she was able to shoot off 6 of them in rapid fire succession. So that implies that there's only maybe even a split second level of time delay between the shooting of a horn and the production of other horns. Man, but that still feels weird. That really does feel weird with Pony. It's just, could you imagine horns growing back that quickly? Oh, it's kind of like if your fingernails, you just kind of cut them and then they grow back all of a sudden. Oh, okay, yeah, whatever. There was, like, I guess the one person I forgot to mention, or not really forgot to mention, it's just Ojiro versus Spin Man, or the Spinny Man. Yeah, honestly, Ojiro is the type of person that was able to survive a bunch of villains going after him by just being smart. Honestly, I would love it if the author gives him some accolades here, but Given what we've seen so far, this seems to be the Class 1B show, because when you look back at the previous fight, the people who got really developed in that one were really the Class 1B side, because you had Manga, you had the Mushroom Girl, versus you had two people who did nothing, which was Laser Boy and Invisible Girl, and then you had Tokoyami showing off a goofy way to fly. Yeah, I'm not expecting much. Then you like go look back at the first one, and the first one Kirishima got taken out immediately. He didn't get really to show his stuff, and you also had Anima getting taken out really quickly. Yeah, I'm not feeling great for Ojiro. Unless the author wants to show some really cool rotation tricks, I don't think Ojiro's going to get a lot of accolades here. It's going to be interesting. Oh, right, I'm looking at Todoroki, and now I have to go back to the Endeavor part of the chapter. Yeah, the Endeavor part. Endeavor's being a doting parent. He's being kind of an obsessed parent. One thing that I saw initially when I saw the spoilers was that Shoto's sister had an extreme breach of privacy because she gave Endeavor Shoto's communications. Just to read it out, the line that Endeavor said that triggered people was like, with Fuyumi's cooperation, I was finally able to register Shoto as a friend. And then you have him showing off the messages to Shoto and all that. And it's just, like, Shoto and his father have been communicating on text messages forever. Or not forever, but for a really long time. We've seen this before. And I found it really funny how people just jumped the gun and were talking about how Fuyumi just breached Shoto's privacy, and I'm just thinking, like, it's very likely that Shoto's sister went to him and asked him if she could give his number or his friend thing to Endeavor. And if it was actually a friend request going on, or register Shoto as a friend, that seems to be something that Shoto's sister went to Shoto and talked to him about. It was just really interesting to see people saying like, oh yeah, Shoto better have some words for you. I mean, it's like, come on, man. They're heroes. They have to deal with worse situations. They're more mature than you're giving them credit for. They're not going to have a problem with that. That was just a really weird complaint to see happening. Mind you, the whole Endeavor part is overall funny. But that little bit of a reaction from people, like, honestly, I would react more to the fact that this guy's screaming his son's name in the middle of town. That's kind of weird, right? But no, people just kind of more gravitated towards the whole friend request issue. And it's just really funny. You consider that this girl altered her career path, or like pretty much made her career path based on the mistreatment that she saw from her father towards her brothers. And people don't even give her the benefit of the doubt. They just flat out go and jump into the thought that, oh yeah, she must have screwed over Shoto. That's just that's a funny reaction given what you know about the character. That's all I had to say about that part. Like, honestly, the Endeavor part is just there to add more kind of context to the technique that Shoto was being taught. What's interesting is that he didn't even acknowledge Toya in this one. So I'm interested to see how that kind of dynamic plays out, and I want to see if he's going to bring up Toya later. At least because in this one, Endeavor's saying that he's thinking differently now, right? I want to see if he's going to have a different kind of opinion on what happened with Toya. And if Dabi is Toya, it's just really interesting that Endeavor doesn't recognize him after seeing Dabi's picture. Or at least seeing... No, I'm trying to remember. Does Endeavor actually know what Dabi looks like? Because when he saw Dabi was blurry, and that might have been the clue there. But I would have thought that the police would have maybe surveillance footage of Dabi somewhere. And that's why I'm thinking that Endeavor has seen Dabi's face before. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. Overall, the chapters continue to be good because Class 1B continues to get proper justice done to them. So that's great. I'm excited to see the whole thing. Like these have been good chapters. All we needed to see was Class 1B's quirk and make them feel worthwhile, and that's pretty much what we're getting. Anyway, that's pretty much it for me. Overall, yeah, good times. Guys, let me know what you thought down below. Let me know what you thought of the whole Endeavor situation. And until next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day.